Welcome back. Now we talk again about the federal government formally handing over the 130 rescued students and teachers of St. Mary's Catholic School, Papiri, to the Niger State Government. On hand to have this conversation with us is Sagir Ibrahim, our new central correspondent in Minna. Sagir, thank you very much for joining us. Please, if you'll give us updates. We were with you yesterday when you were at the government house as the 130 students were handed back to their parents. What's happened since then?
Yes, good afternoon, at the moment, from what we've gathered, the children left the state capital and then back to Papiri. But Papiri is quite a distance from here. Hopefully, they're expected to arrive much later in the evening. However, from what we've gathered, they have gotten to Kontagora. They stopped by at the Kontagora diocese to see the Archbishop there, and from there they're expected to proceed to Papiri in our local government. So hopefully by the end of today, they should be reunited with their parents, and of course in time for the Christmas celebration, the eve of Christmas, the 24th, and of course the Christmas Day celebration on the 25th of December. Now, Martino, you understand that the figures that's being put out by the government is 230. But of course, initial figures, especially by the Archbishop of the Kontagora diocese, indicated that it was around 303 individuals, pupils and also teachers of this school that were abducted. That's one concern that there is, that the discrepancies between the figures that the government has put out and the figures initially put out by the Archbishop, by the diocese of Kontagora. That's one issue. And the other issue is the conversation around whether how these children were returned. Why has there not been corresponding, apprehension or apprehending of those who were responsible for this? What strategy was used to get these children? These are some of the questions that has been asked, and of course, some of the questions on the lips of many Nigerians who have been observing this issue from a distance.
Sagir, does there seem to be any effort by the government to clarify those numbers? Perhaps maybe there might be some who are still missing. Have they put in any effort at all?
Well, the Niger State Governor said yesterday, after receiving the children and, of course, deploying them for health checks and health clearance, had mentioned when he was asked, what the figures are, that at this point, what's most important. In fact, he was also asked whether, as he saw individuals, whether ransom were paid, and he said, it's for us, it's for them to know, and basically for us to find out, if you know that proverb, Martino. But then, not so much. We've not gotten clarification as far as that is concerned. But also it's important to note that the abduction of these students was the precursor to the announcement of the closure of 47 schools, as we saw happen, of course, on the 21st of December. As a matter of fact, it happened at around the same day. We saw the situation before that, an abduction in the federal government comprehensive secondary school in Maga. This was the precursor to the event that happened, but then not so much has been said, about the measures used to secure the release of these children. Nigerians at this point are expected to celebrate the return of these children, but the question of whether any measure is being taken against the assailants, against the abductors, against the captors of these children has to be a rhetorical question at this point. We continue to put pressure where pressure is necessary to see whether we're going to get more clarification. But until then, the situation is what it is, Martino.
So it's one thing to apprehend the captors. It's another thing to actually put in place structure to make sure that this doesn't happen again. Did the governor say anything about such?
Well, for them, the government will continue to do the best that it can. They will continue to put in efforts to ensure that security is provided. We recall that yesterday when the representative of the National Security Advisor, the coordinator of the National Counterterrorism Center, General Galba Laka, when he spoke, he mentioned something about the policy being rolled out to ensure protection of communities and also to ensure that education in Nigeria does not become a casualty of insecurity. I believe that that in their own part is their resolve and the commitment to ensuring Nigeria is secure. Before the first attack, of course, on November 17, if the last time we heard of this kind of attacks were the ones recorded in 2024 in Kankara and, of course, in other areas that we saw recorded at that time, of course, up until November when we saw this development. So we hope that this commitment will really put in place the necessary structures to ensure that schools are safe. I don't even want to talk about the Safe School Initiative in 2014 that was initiated, over $30 million invested nothing to show for it. In spite of all of that, we see abductions, still being carried out to the extent that it now looks, like an industry of sort for non-state actors who are looking up to fulfill, to refill their war chest, as the case may be. So Nigerians would have to take the commitment and the comments by the government with a pinch of salt, hoping that these issues change for the better, and we move on from seeing days like this when schools are attacked and students are abducted, and then of course the question of whether ransom was paid, ransom was not paid, the question of whether those who were responsible were apprehended or not apprehended begins to populate public discourse. Mazino.
Well, thank you very much, Sagir. Let's get you out of the scorching Minna sun now. Thank you for your efforts. Thank you.